Okay, so I want to talk to you a little bit about color mixing. Now, you can mix colors in one of two ways. You can either mix colors on the paper or you can mix colors in the palette. So for a lot of people, you know, when you look here, you'll notice you don't have purple. Oh no! Okay, so in order to make purple, I would probably use a color like crimson, which is this one, and ultramarine. And so what you want to do is just take a little bit of it, and this is what the middle of your palette over here is for. So I'm going to put a little bit of crimson on my palette with some water, maybe a little bit more water, and then I'm going to use the ultramarine blue, and I'm going to put a little bit of that in there, and I'm going to mix those together. So that might look really dark in my palette here. And remember, that blue is really, really strong, so you have to be really careful with that and not use too much of it. But I have the feeling this is probably going to make a decent purple when I actually put it on the paper. So I mix those two colors together there, and when I put it down, I probably could have used a little bit more red. So that's really strong. Okay, so that was me mixing it on in the palettes. But something that you can do is if you start mixing it on the paper instead. Now I need a little bit more crimson because I ruined that one, and that's okay. Put that over there. So one of the things that you can do is you can actually mix the color instead of here on the palette. You can actually mix it on the paper. So I could go back in and I could add more crimson to it. So this is going to be a lot easier to get the right colors because I'm going to be able to see what it looks like on the paper a lot better. The other thing that this does is it creates a really cool color effect because you're going to have some areas where it's going to be, you know, slightly more of another color, and some areas where it might be a little bit more mixed together. So you can really create a lot of various effects with your purples in this way. And this is actually much lighter than what it looks like on the camera. So you have to keep that in mind too, and it'll lighten up as it dries a little bit. So that's mixing it in the palette versus mixing it on the paper. So here's another one. If you want to, there isn't really an orange. So I would take a brilliant red, put that there. And then I want to mix yellow in with that. But again, the red is going to be a lot stronger than the yellow. So I'm going to need a lot more yellow to make a good orange. And you don't want to get a ton of watercolor. Put a little bit more water in there. So when I put this color on, it's going to be like a flat color. Just mixing it from the palette onto there. So I'm going to get less variations in color than I am going to if I saw mixing it on the paper. So again, here's a palette that you couldn't see before. So here is mixing it in the palette, and here is mixing it on the paper.